GMAT exam. Of course, it helps you stand out. It is one of the criterias, and it will definitely help you refresh your study skills, right? So a lot of us are actually studying or coming back to academics after a long time. So this will help you prepare for the rigors of the MBA as well. Now, certain things that the GMAT does not. The GMAT exam does not assume that you have any specific knowledge of any of the topics. It does not measure your achievement in any particular subject. They look at your grades for that, and it does not measure any subjective factors either. It is purely a test of your aptitude. So this is what the new pattern of the test really is. We have three sections: data insights, quantitative, and verbal. On the DI section, you have 20 questions, on the quantitative 21 and verbal 23. All sections are 45 minutes, and the total duration is going to be 2 hours, 15 minutes. So data insights is the new section. However, there isn't anything new about it. Data sufficiency was also part of the test before, and all the other question types were also part of the test under the section called integrated reasoning. So it is, there is a bit of a reshuffling rather than a completely new section as such. On the quantitative, you have problem solving. It's a regular math problem. 5 answer choices given to you. You have to solve for value. 1 correct response is provided. Geometry is no longer part of your syllabus. And on the verbal section, reading comprehension and critical reasoning are the 2 question types. Grammar has been removed from the verbal section. So there is no sentence correction question type anymore. So this is what the entire test is going to be. And there are 6 orders in which you can take the test. So when you start your exam, you would have to decide in which order you want to take it. So you want to start with data insights, you can do that, quantitative or verbal. Whatever your preference is, you can take it in any order. There is one optional break for 10 minutes. You can take it after the first section or after the second one as well. Right. So once you start taking your mocks and all, you can actually decide which order works best for you, and then you can stick to that and take the exam in that particular order. Now, GMAT is a computer adaptive test. I'm sure most of you must have heard that GMAT is a computer adaptive exam. So what it really means is that the difficulty level of the test will adapt to your performance. So the difficulty level starts at a medium level for everyone. So here. So it starts at a medium level for everyone. If you get questions right, difficulty level goes up. If you get your questions wrong, your difficulty level goes down. As simple as that. Right? A correct response gives you a harder item. Incorrect response gives you an easier item. Simple as that. So a correct response, harder item will give you more points, and thus your score will be higher as well. So in a nutshell, there is that element of negative marking as well, right? Because if you get a question wrong, you are being penalized in terms of your difficulty level. If your difficulty level goes down, eventually your score will also go down. Now, GMAT is a standardized test. You take it anywhere in the world, it remains the same, right? And you obviously cannot go back to the previous question. However, at the end of the test, a review screen appears where you can actually change your response to a maximum of 3 questions. Item exposure control simply means that there is a mix of all topics. So the entire, most of the topics from your syllabus will be tested, right? As far as the scoring is concerned, your GMAT is scored on a scale of 205 to 805 with increments of 10, meaning you can score 205, 215, 225, and so on. The sectional scores will be on a scale of 60 to 90 with increments of 1. So you can score 61, 62, 63, and so on. Right. So all your sections combined will give you a total score out of 805. So that is what the entire exam pattern is going to be. Any question related to this, anyone? All right. Yes, the score starts with 205. The minimum that you can score is a 205. Okay. Okay. Now, when you look at the quantitative section to give you a detailed list of all the topics here, so as I said, arithmetic and algebra are the key topics that you will be tested on. So this is a list of all the topics that you would need to prepare for. Okay, and here, so I hope you have a clear understanding of. So these are all the topics that so we cover in our training module in quite detail, guys. Okay. What does graphing in the quant? Graphing means obviously questions related to the graphs and all, guys. Okay. Graphs, tables, charts, and all, scatter plots, pie charts. So yeah. Now on the verbal section, you have reading comprehension and critical reasoning. As I said, the two question types. Reading comprehension, I'm sure everyone is aware of. A passage is given to you. Now, these passages will be based on different topics: social sciences, humanities, physical or biological sciences. Okay. Passages range in length as well. So you have short, medium, and long passages. Long passages usually about 600, 650 words, right? A short passage is going to be somewhere about 350, 250 to 350 words. Now, there are five question types that we need to prepare for when it comes to passages. You need to know how to solve a main idea question, a supporting idea question, inference, application, and evaluate questions. So it's very important to understand what are the important parts of the passage that we need to read. Okay. What sort of trap answers are we going to find? So all of that is going to really save you a lot of time while solving reading comprehension. A good reading habit is definitely going to come handy. GMAT does not explicitly test you on vocabulary. However, there is a certain vocab that you need to have. So once you're practicing questions, I think you get exposure to such words which are quite common on the GMAT exam. Now, when it comes to critical reasoning, this is one of the most logical sections on the test where you get short passages which are called arguments. And then there are 8 different types of questions based on these arguments. So we can strengthen, assumption, inference, paradox, boldface, evaluate, complete. These are all the different types of questions that you're going to get based on these arguments. Now, again, in our training program, we'll be covering all of these questions separately, one by one. So it is quite important that you understand how to go about each of these questions because the strategy is quite different, task is quite different. So one should be very clear as to what each of these questions really mean. Okay. Now, as far as data insights is concerned, this is a section which has an element of both math and verbal, right? And you have questions based on a lot of graphs, tables, charts. A lot of information is provided, and you'll have to decide which information is relevant. This is also going to be computer adaptive. Now, one of the most time consuming questions is going to be multi-source reasoning. So this is where you have different tabs which present information in the form of tables, graphs, and charts, and you'll have to decide which tab is going to be useful to answer a particular question, right? So that is exactly what a multi-source reasoning question is all about. Two types of these, by the way. You have a multiple choice question and a yes, no, true, false, inferable, not inferable kind of question as well. Okay. Next is table analysis. As the name suggests, a sortable table is presented, which can have a lot of different type of information. And then there will be questions based on that. So you'll have to select the one which you think is the most logical one. A two-part analysis, basically, as the name suggests, there are two parts which could be related in some way, and then the answer choices are presented in the third column. So you'll have to select one for each of the first two columns here. Okay. Now, graphical interpretation is one where you have graphs, like pie chart, bar chart, statistical curve. The interesting thing about this question type is that the answer choices are in the form of a drop down menu. So you'll have to just click on that and the answer choices will appear. Finally, the data sufficiency, it's a typical math question where you have to solve for sufficiency. So you don't have to solve for value. Rather, you have to simply find out if the information given to you is sufficient or not. Okay. So let's have a look at what these choices mean. So these five choices actually have their own fixed meaning. So first of all, if you select A part, it means statement one alone is sufficient. B part means statement two alone is sufficient. C part means both statements together are sufficient. D part means both independently are sufficient. And E part means that neither of them is sufficient. Okay. So that is what a typical data sufficiency question is going to be. Now, so this is what the entire syllabus of the exam is going to be. Now let's dive deeper into the critical reasoning question types here. So critical reasoning, as I said, presents 8 different question types, very logical, very interesting questions here. So quite important to understand what is the task on each of these questions, what exactly do we have to do so that you are able to avoid all the traps that are going to be there. Okay. So all the topics that I have shown you here, guys, are going to be part of the syllabus, and we are going to cover all of these in detail separately, one by one. In case you wish to know more about any of the particular details and all, you can check the mba.com website for syllabus, and you can connect with us also, right? However, let's now move on with the verbal type question types with critical reasoning here. Now, all these questions are based on arguments, as I said, right? So the first thing that we need to understand is what is an argument. Now, any typical argument is basically made up of two components, a premise and a conclusion. Premise is basically the evidence that is provided by the author in order to support, and conclusion is simply the main point, the central idea that the author presents, right? So conclusion is the main point, central idea, the key point that the author presents, and premise is the evidence upon which the conclusion is based. Okay. Now let's have a look at a typical example here. Please go ahead, read. Can you find the conclusion here? All right, everyone. What do you think seems to be the conclusion here? All right. So here, clearly the conclusion seems to be that a sandwich with cream is more helpful than is a sandwich with butter on it. Now you can see there were clear indicators such as therefore, which obviously is the main point. So finding the conclusion should be relatively easier since it's the main point, the main idea that the author wants to present. And of course, there are certain indicators such as therefore clearly, which may be present on some questions and it may not be present on some, right? So here, conclusion is that a sandwich with cream is healthful than a sandwich with butter on it. Now, once you have your conclusion, all you have to do is find out or just ask yourself, why is the author saying so, right? So the moment you ask why, I think the clear response is that cream contains 50% fewer calories per spoon than does butter, right? And therefore, we can clearly break the argument into its components. So as a strategy, if you see, once you have your conclusion, you take the Y test and you'll be able to find the premise here. So that is how you can actually break any critical reasoning argument into its components. Are we clear here, everyone? Okay, so here, now this is a typical GMAT style question here. Please go ahead, have a look. Let's see if we can break this argument into its component. Please go ahead, find the conclusion here. All right, guys, I hope you've read the argument here. So what seems to be the conclusion here? All right. So clearly, the conclusion is that the campaign did nothing to further the economic interest. And the moment we ask ourselves why, I think the response is very clear that on one hand, yes, the sales did go up, but since profit is less than the cost of the campaign, we are saying that the campaign did nothing. Okay, all right. So based on the same argument, now let's have a look at a typical question and see how we can go about it. So the question says which of the following would weaken the argument. So let's understand first what do we even mean by weakening. So weakening simply indicates that I have to find an answer choice that will allow me to challenge the conclusion of the argument, something that will allow me to make the conclusion less likely to be true. Okay, so that is what a typical weakening question is all about. Are we clear here, everyone? Okay. So with respect to this question, basically we are looking for a choice that will allow me to say that the campaign did something because the conclusion said that the campaign did nothing. So I'm looking for a choice that will allow me to say that the campaign did something, right? So here, guys, let's have a quick look. Five answer choices for you. You have a look at it. Let me know what choice. Please mark your choices on the poll. Do not share your choices on the chat. Poll is live. Only mark your choices on the poll. All right, guys. I think that's plenty of time here. Ending the poll now. In case you have not marked, your time is now. Here. So if you look at your poll results, first of all, only 73% people were able to answer. So a lot of us were not even able to answer the question, right? So that is the first challenge that you'll have to overcome, right? Because on the exam as well, you'll find a scenario where you're not sure or time is running out, so you'll have to work on your elimination skills as well, right? Because if you don't play, you don't win, right? So I mean, there is no absolutely no way that you can possibly get a question correct if you simply do not even answer. Okay, so that is definitely something that you'll have to look at. All right. Now let's have a look at the choices. When you say that relatively small percentage, guys, that was a clear trap, right? Because small percentage could mean anything, right? A small percentage could still be millions. Therefore, this is absolutely not going to be. Okay. Most of the people who bought Diets Can Tuna for the first time as a result of the campaign were already loyal customers. If they were already loyal customers, then campaign or no campaign, they would have gone for the same brand. Therefore, this is not going to work either, right? Now, C part is what we call as an out of scope answer choice, guys. Meaning, this is something which is absolutely irrelevant to the argument. A less expensive advertising campaign would have brought in fewer new customers. So, how another campaign would have been even worse is absolutely going to have no impact on this campaign, would not mean if this campaign is good or not. Okay. So just because another less expensive campaign would be even worse, that doesn't mean that this campaign is going to be better than that. And therefore, clearly, the better choice is not C part. Now, when you say they made money, we obviously know they made money, right? How much is the question? We already know they made money, right? The question clearly says that the sales went up. So obviously they would have made some money. The question is how much. Okay. Now, the only logical choice was E part. In each of the past 5 years, there was a steep industry wide decline. Now, what E part tells me is that there was a steep decline. Everyone's sales are going down steeply. At a time when everyone's sales are going down, this company's sales went up. Okay. At a time when everyone's sales are going down, this company's sales went up. So clearly, if not for the campaign, forget 12 million, they would have sold 2 million in total. So obviously, the campaign did something, and thus E part weakens the argument. Are we clear here, everyone? Okay. Can you please show the passage and explain the E point? Uh, I think E point I explained, but you can have a look at the passage here, Ashutosh. Is there a question? See, that's the thing, guys. Once you have broken the argument, right, then there is absolutely no need here because everything that the argument has to offer, we already know, right? Campaign did nothing. There was an increase in sales of 2 million, but profit is less than the cost. So that's exactly what we said, that we need to find something that says campaign did something. The only choice that does that is going to be part because everyone's sales are going down. So at a time when everyone's sales are going down, this company's sales went up. As we know for a fact, it happened. Thus, key point would help. Are we clear, Ashutosh? Is there a query? Okay, cool. Now here, guys, I have another one for you. Please go ahead, have a look at it. Let's see if we can find the conclusion and premise. Please go ahead. Alrighty, everyone. What seems to be the conclusion here? Okay. So clearly, the conclusion here is that the complaints are unwarranted, right? What is the complaint? Complaint is that the traffic has increased, but the author says that these complaints are unwarranted. When we ask why, I think the clear response is that there are more roads than there are vehicles. So clearly, since the highways have tripled and the vehicles have only increased by 75%, we are saying that clearly there is no traffic, that the traffic has not increased. Are we clear here, everyone? Okay. So here we have a question which says weakens the argument. So if the conclusion is that the complaints are unwarranted, obviously to weaken, we'll have to say that the complaints are warranted. In other words, meaning that the traffic has increased, right? So I'm going to launch the poll again, and here are the answer choices. Please go ahead, mark your choices on the poll. All right, guys. Now that's plenty of time here. Let's see what choice we're going for. Ending the poll now. So here we have only 57% participation, guys. That is not a very good sign, though. Now, if you look at your poll results, clearly 63% have gone for A part, which is very good. Clearly, A part is the only logical choice that would explain. It says that most of the travel is local. Now, the argument said that the highways have tripled. Yeah, fine. So the highway may have tripled, but since the travel is local and these roads haven't really changed much, and on top of it, you know that the vehicles have increased. So obviously, that is a recipe for more traffic, not less, right? So that would clearly help you say that the traffic has increased. Gasoline prices are high, absolutely irrelevant to if you have traffic or not. Well developed public transit systems can only reduce traffic. And radio stations, if they're broadcasting a report, then obviously that'll lead to less traffic, not more, right? Okay. So that is how a typical critical reasoning question is going to be, guys. And that is something that you need to really, really master, right? That's something that can help you navigate through these traps and all quite easily, right? All right. Now, let's have a look at the reading comprehension part as well. Now, when it comes to reading comprehension here, I have this short passage to just show you a typical pattern that exists. Please have a quick look at this passage. All right, I believe we have read the passage here. Now, if you notice here that the first paragraph or the first few lines rather is where you'll find the main idea or the key point where it says that the NASA programs have been the subject of ridicule. So this is the part that you would want to read a little slower. When it comes to the middle part of the passage, you'll find that this is where you'll have details about the main idea and all. So this is the part you may be a little quick at. You may not read every single word by word or line by line, right? That is going to be quite helpful here. Okay. And when it comes towards the end, this is where you'll find the author again summarizes the main points. So clearly, this is also the part that you would want to read a little slower. Now, this is just one paragraph. If you have multiple paragraphs, remains the same, right? So then the first paragraph and the last paragraph become more important. So ideally, the first and the last paragraphs are definitely going to be the important parts where you should pay attention to what is going on. Okay. All right. Here, some of the keywords that can help you navigate the passages a little better. So, transitions are going to be very, very important. That can help you identify the changes in the direction. Then there are time transitions, such as until now, recently, since later. If you look at these words, they can always help you understand if there is any change in the direction of the author, right? So here I have this typical passage for you. Have a look at it and apply what I just discussed. Let's see if you can find out what seems to be the key point in this passage here. All right. I hope we have read through the passage here, guys. Read through the first and the last lines. All right. So here, let's find the primary purpose of the passage. So if it is about the primary purpose, I think this is where I would like to pay more attention to here. And it says scientists long believed that the SCNs were what controlled the rhythms, right? So earlier they believed, The SCNs were important. And if it is saying they have long believed, obviously I'm looking for that time transition, right? Something that will help me identify that there has been a change in the direction, right? Now, furthermore, all of these words in the same direction, the only transition that I get here is this one. While scientists do not dispute SCNs, scientists now believe. So look at that. When it says long believed, now they believe that something else is also responsible, right? So there you go. Clearly, the author is trying to show a change with respect to the importance of SCN. Here, the poll is live. Let's see what choice we select. Please go ahead, mark your choices on the poll. All right, guys, I hope you read the answer choices here. All right, ending the poll now. Let's see. So clearly, if you have a look at the answer choices, guys, I think there was only one choice that does talk about the change here, which clearly seems to be D part, how this long-standing belief has been revised, right? I think that is very clearly the most logical answer choice. Nobody is challenging the recent findings, first of all, right? There is no ongoing debate going on. There were no several questions, just one, right? And again, there was no commonly misunderstood. So again, guys, if after doing all the hard work and all we get creative, then it's obviously going to be a bit of a problem, right? And that's something that you should avoid doing, else you will fall for these traps and all here. Okay, so I suggest you stay away from that. Do not fall for these traps. Okay. All right. So clearly, guys, this is how you can improve upon your reading comprehension once you understand exactly what sort of questions and what sort of pattern these passages are going to follow, right? So here, guys, I'm sharing a form in the chat. So those of you who are here for the first time and are not part of the program, I suggest that you please fill out the form. In case you have any queries, please feel free to reach out to us on the number on your screen here. If you wish to know more about GMAT prep and admissions, and as I said, people who are already part of the program, guys, A warm welcome to all of you. This was the introduction session. We'll start with the topics in the next one. In case you have any question for me, please feel free to ask. Can you refer some books? So again, Sukhman, there are no books as such that you require, right? Apart from the Career Launcher portal that you get, I think official guide questions are going to be quite handy. And in general, if you want to improve your reading habit, I suggest you can start reading from The Economist, The Hindu, the Harvard Business Review. These are certain sources. The business section of these is going to improve your reading ability required for GMAT. Where can we get practice material? As I said, Career Launcher will provide you all the practice material that you would need. And if you're looking for some free resources, you can always try the GMAT Club, where you can find some of the free resources. All right, guys. Thank you all for joining. That'll be all in that case. As I said, please feel free to reach out to us and please. Should we buy the official guide as I've already enrolled? Sukhman, again, no need to buy the official guide. As I said, you can access the official guide questions from the GMAT Club for the past few years, right? So I don't think you would need to buy the official guide.